Good morning, friends. Matt Greer here, I'm music director at St. John's United Methodist Church in Albuquerque. Welcome to Monday Morning Music with Matt. It has been a while since we have done this. This is a Monday morning meeting, YouTube show, whatever, that we started last fall during kind of the height of lockdown, and just started kind of as a way to keep folks who are used to being involved in the music ministry connected, and then it evolved into talking to guests and playing music. And while we have been reopened for live worship and live other stuff since April, it's still the case, especially since the Delta variant, that there are people at home who are worshiping from home and wanting music that they can enjoy from home. So we thought it'd be a good idea to revive this. And so that's the plan. We're going to be doing this on Monday mornings together for the next couple of months. And we hope that you'll tune in from all over. If you're with us this morning from elsewhere, or if you just want to say hi, or if you have a question for me or our guests, put that in the chat box, and we'll try and get to those as the morning goes on. I am so excited that, as I mentioned, things are kind of in an open place, kind of. This does feel like an odd kind of in-between time, in that, as I said, a lot of people are here in the building now, and worship services have been going on in the building. But of course, the live stream is also happening, and people are choosing to do that instead or as well. Worship services, for those of you that are in Albuquerque and maybe have not been worshiping with us live, have been back since mid-April, and the choir is singing. The chancel choir is singing every Sunday with masks on their faces. God bless them. And we revived the 8:15 worship service just a few weeks ago, after putting some thought into that and trying to give that its own flavor. And my brilliant colleagues, Therese McCauley and Jim Arend, have been working with our pastors, Rendell Parton and Tiffany Hollums, to do an entirely different Sunday morning service, which we're calling Mosaic. That is the one of our regular services that is not live streamed. So it is something that if you want to take part in, you have to come and enjoy. But it's been really lovely to be involved in that service the last few weeks as a participant, and to enjoy the different music and the different flavor of that service. So if you feel like getting up on Sunday morning for the 8:15 service, I can highly recommend it. Chancel Choir has been rehearsing for most of the summer and is continuing to. Our youth choir, Sunrise, is back. We had our third rehearsal yesterday, and they'll be singing for the first time in worship next Sunday. Our New Sound children's choirs are back, although they're focusing more on making instrumental music right now, because we're constantly trying to think about what is going to keep everybody safe. And of course, children are especially vulnerable right now. So they've been ringing bells and they've been having a ball. Our Bells of St. John's Bell Choir has been back rehearsing for several weeks, and they are very happy to be so. And the Abide Praise Band is back. I didn't really take a break from rehearsing because they've been doing virtual stuff this whole time, but the fantastic Gil Flores is leading them. So still lots and lots and lots going on. And we're just going to keep making music and trying to keep people connected the best way that we can. And just talking about what's coming up here in the next few weeks. Next Monday morning at 9 o'clock, I'm going to be able to interview my friend Barney Smith, who is the co-founder and artistic director of Voces 8, who's going to be joining us from his home in Cambridge, England. They've been on a European tour, and so I'm not sure where he's going to be joining us from, but that is going to be next Monday. I'm going to be able to chat with him. And then the following week, October 11th, I'm going to introduce our friends Stephanie Bettman and Luke Halpin, who are going to be joining us from Denver. And St. John's people have heard them a few times. And in fact, Bettman and Halpin were supposed to do a concert for us right a week after lockdown happened. It was like the first thing that got canceled when we started to realize what was going on. And we're very happy that we are bringing them back, that concert has been rescheduled for the 17th of October. And I'm going to chat with them on October 11th ahead of that. Week following, on October 18th, Jocelyn Hagan, who's a fantastic composer from the Twin Cities, is going to be joining us. On the 25th, Maria A. Ellis, who's a wonderful, young, energetic music educator, conductor, and radio host from St. Louis. November 8th, I'm going to be chatting with Olga Perez Flora, who is on the voice faculty at the University of New Mexico, wonderful mezzo-soprano, who's going to be appearing on our Bach project before too long. And then on the 15th of November, we're going to have a conversation with Alcy Chris, who's a wonderful concert organist that we presented here. It's been about 3 years, and Alcy is going to be here doing a concert for us on the 21st of November. And so we're going to be able to chat with him ahead of that. So lots of good stuff coming up, and we hope you will plan to spend your Monday mornings, or if you are working or otherwise occupied, you can view these later. By way of introducing my guest this morning, I'm going to play a video of hers. Karen, in addition to being a fantastic conductor and composer, is also a singer-songwriter who writes wonderful original stuff. And this is a gorgeous video of an original piece of hers. This is Karen Marrolli. The piece is called Firefly.
Fireflies rise up like a sea of light, and you standing in the sunset as the colors wind up. You're far too beautiful for this rusted old side of town, and you're moving through me, moving through darkness falls, your soul still sings, creating grace with your own wings. Darkness falls, your soul still sings, creating grace with your own wings. Darkness falls, your soul still sings, creating grace with your own wings. So I see you in the fireflies, like a summer moon in a southern sky. In your night you are the light, and I see you in the fireflies, like a summer moon in a southern sky. In your night you are the light. In your night you are the light. In your night you are the light.
Firefly by Karen Marrolli. I am so pleased that Karen agreed to chat with me this morning because she's someone whose music I have admired for a long time. And she also happens to be the music director at Central United Methodist Church here in Albuquerque. So joining us from somewhere in Albuquerque, Dr. Karen Marrolli. Welcome, Karen.
Hi there.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Nice to see you. Is that your office or your home or someplace else?
This is home right now. So I'll go over to office after we're done here. But yeah.
Nice. Office and home have kind of melded for a lot of
They
us over the last year.
really have. This is sort of my memorial location for all of my Zoom meetings, choir Zoom meetings and staff Zoom meetings.
So that's a familiar background to people who
Yes.
work with you. Well, thanks for doing this morning. I was thinking as I was re-listening to some of your music that I'm always really annoyed and threatened by people who are as diverse as you are in what they can do, because we just heard this amazing example of your singer-songwriter side, and I have been I think I've been programming your choral music since before we ever met, and the pieces that I have done with the choir here, they instantly fall in love with. And then you also have a doctorate in choral conducting, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Can you not decide what you want to be when you grow up, or?
No, I really can't. I mean, I think that conducting was kind of like, I latched onto that kind of early in my undergrad, and I was always kind of, when I was a singer-songwriter kind of when I was a teenager, and then I took up composition for my degree at Westminster, but I was always really drawn to conducting. So I think that's what I've thought was going to be like the straight career path for me, and in other ways than necessarily being in a church, which I don't know, you may know how that goes, but yeah, the composition thing has really been a blessing for me the past, at least 10 years. Yeah.
And so that's fairly new, I mean, in the scope of things?
No, yeah. I mean, as far as I guess a career, like a big girl thing, it is. But and I always tell people the story, like I obviously at my degree in undergrad, and partially in my master's too, is composition. So that's what that was the big thing that I studied to do before I went, and did the upper level conducting study. But then I didn't really do that much of it. There were a couple of kind of neat pieces that came out like Patapan. I wrote for a friend of mine that's a director of choral activities in Charleston, and that kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, when I moved to Santa Fe, something kind of clicked, and I just started writing all of this stuff. So I don't know if it's something about Santa Fe or New Mexico or some weird energy in Santa Fe. I don't know, but and that's when it kind of clicked back in. So
I see.
Fascinating.
So what was choir in your background? Did you grow up singing in choir? Did you sing in choir in high school?
Yeah, I did. I think the first choir that was available to me was sort of like in middle school. So I did, but really got seriously into it in high school. And did some all-state, all-county kinds of things. And then, of course, ended up going to Westminster Choir College, where that's what you do.
Yeah, pretty much. It's in the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where did you grow up, Karen?
New Jersey.
Okay.
I grew up kind of right smack in the middle of South Jersey in the Pine Barrens. I'm a piney.
Is that what they call that?
Yeah, I'm not really a piney, but yeah, that's sort of that area of New. It's an area that people wouldn't like really think exists, because you think of New Jersey and you think of like, I guess North Jersey, but there's some very rural areas and sort of agrarian, I guess, kind of places. Yeah.
And so Westminster Choir College is in Princeton. Did Westminster Choir College loom large for you when you were thinking about majoring in music and all of that stuff?
I really was looking to get out of New Jersey. So I thought, because I got in at NYU. There were some places in Florida. I really wanted to go south because I don't like to be cold. And Westminster was the one place in New Jersey because I just decided, I think, on a whim. But when I got on that campus, I just kind of felt like I belonged there. And then they gave me a full scholarship, academic scholarship. It was like the first year, maybe the only year that they ever did that. It had to do with them kind of teaming up with Ryder at that time. So yeah. Things happen in ways that you don't expect.
Absolutely. Were your parents supportive of you majoring in music? I mean, it's one thing to kind of go to NYU and maybe eventually decide to major in music, but man, if you go to Westminster Choir College, you're kind of committed.
Right. Well, Westminster had a BA program and probably still does, I think, at the time. So that made my mother a little bit more comfortable with the idea, I think. So I started as a Bachelor of Arts major. And then the second year I switched to a Bachelor of Music and Composition. She did not like that. She was not happy. I think she's finally just kind of come to terms with it, now. Yeah.
But she eventually came around.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about the church? I mean, obviously you're someone who ended up being a full-time church musician and you've been that in several different settings. Was that a goal to work in the church or did that evolve?
No, that evolved. I mean, I think that, there's a lot of things that are put on you. Like everybody says, well, if you are interested in this, then you will do this. Mm. So, and because also, my mother went back to school when I was like 10. She was in colleges for so I was very comfortable on college campuses and I just thought I was going to be a college professor, and plus everybody tells you that's what you're going to do. Yeah. But, when I went and finally, went through all the steps and started doing my doctoral work, I was working in a Methodist church, as a matter of fact, Ingleside Methodist Church, shout out, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I just kind of felt, again, like I just belonged in that kind of scenario. So that's when it got planted, really, that was what I was going to do, kind of, going to lean more in that direction. And it was just sort of solidified by my time in Santa Fe. So I was working in a church. I was working with several volunteer, amateur, like community choirs. And that's where everything sort of felt like it gelled for me. With my personality and my teaching style and all of that, rather than necessarily being like at a university setting. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and because I agree. I mean, I don't have my doctorate, but my friends who have doctorates in choral conducting, some of them have talked to me about what the pressure is to immediately go into academia with that degree. And yes. I mean, for one thing, most universities have one choir director. They may have lots and lots of piano teachers and but I think that's a tough nut to crack to break into that.
It is. It's pretty competitive. And then there's a lot of things of, then you got to get tenure. And if I'm generally not somebody that has any conflicts with people anyway, but there are a lot of stories of people, like if you just get into like a personality, just like conflicts that happen with people,
Right.
With one person, and that person doesn't think that you should get tenure. So they can be very, from what I hear from my friends that did go that route, it can be more complicated than you might imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we work in the church where there's no politics.
Oh, no.
So.
And everyone gets along.
It's
and
awesome.
It's just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Anyway, I am so happy that I ended up in the church, and it was kind of a windy path for me too. But even on the most challenging days, I just look around and I'm so grateful that I get paid to work in a church and to make music and to foster community and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, most definitely. And I have done some things over the course of my life that I have not felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt the opposite of that way. So, it's all the sweeter, I guess, when you realize you're like, yeah, I know I'm really lucky. Yeah.
I want to play an example of a choral composition of yours, and this is fairly recent and kind of exciting. There was a recording that just dropped like a week ago or something that's all your music. Would you tell us about that?
Sure. So all of my stuff now is published under the umbrella of ECS Publishing Group, which is now Morningstar and Galaxy, and they've taken over some of the Cola Voce stuff, it looks like, which I have some stuff over there in that realm. But they do a wonderful, wonderful job of putting together materials to promote a piece in a way that you can actually hear what it sounds like. And they do that in conjunction with the singers, conducted by Matthew Carlton in Minneapolis. So they put together all these wonderful recordings anyway. So we decided it wouldn't be a great idea to compile them into a CD so people could hear them over and over and over again.
And what's the CD called?
The CD is called Light of the World. I had
Light
to think
of the
for a
World.
second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the singers, which is probably the most creatively named choir in the world, is
the singers, Minnesota choral artists, I believe, is the
I see. Right. Professional choir in Minneapolis. And so what song are we going to hear?
We are going to hear are we going to hear Come to the Table?
I think so.
Come Before the Table? Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is, you'll hear in the background the singers from Minneapolis performing Karen Marrolli's Come to the Table, and then the video is a bunch of lovely images of stuff. So this is Come to the Table by Karen Marrolli. Enjoy. Oh, wrong piece.
No,
sorry. We may come back to that. Sorry. I'm going to fire my engineer. This is Come to the Table by Karen Marrolli.
Come before the table, oh, 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 come before the table, come before the Lord, oh, come before the table, oh, come before the table, oh, come before the table.
Very cool.
Hmm.
That's such a beautiful kind of gentle piece, especially in that performance. And I was thinking, obviously, because next Sunday is World Communion Sunday, and we're, at least those of us in the church are all thinking about that. But that's an original composition that kind of feels like a little world music-y to me.
Yeah. That was, I was kind of trying to do something a little different. I'm very inspired by world music in general. And a lot of people know, obviously the Celtic influence and can hear that in my stuff, but I love music from all kinds of various cultures. So kind of wanted to pay a little respect to that, I guess. Yeah.
Did you make your way in composing for choirs through arranging, or was it pretty much always doing original composition work?
No, I think it was more doing original composition work. I did do some arranging kind of a million years ago for the College of Charleston concert choir. I did Danny Boy and Coming Through the Rye, just as a more professional outlet. But I was, as a young one, kind of writing my own stuff. And I don't remember doing a lot of arrangements as a student. So yes and no.
Gotcha. And texts, you tend to write some of your own texts as well. That must come from being a songwriter.
Yeah, it sort of does. I mean, initially you set like other people's texts because that's just what you do and what you learn how to do things. But yeah, there was kind of a path where, when I went back and started writing songs again when I was in Santa Fe and realized that my lyrics weren't that terrible, I said, maybe I'll try to put it in a choral piece and just see what happens. So that kind of doing that gave me the confidence. Doing it over here gave me the confidence to try it with, serious music. Well,
so I would imagine as this has become more of a thing for you over the last decade or so, that you're now involved in, being commissioned to do things by choirs and by churches. And so do you enjoy that process?
I do. It's kind of a fun, it's a collaborative process. You get to figure out what the other person sort of wants and needs. But of course, they're coming to you because you have a body of work that that has worked for them. So, it's a process of kind of trying to stay within that realm while using a kind of a different way than you normally would to get inspiration for a piece. Either their ideas for a text or their subject matter, their service requirements, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That whole process just always fascinates me. And have you had any horrible experiences? I mean, obviously I wouldn't want you to name any names, but
yeah, well, let me tell you about, no, I haven't actually.
Because I do have composer friends who have occasionally, have, I mean, I can only imagine, I've been on the side of being the commissioner a few times, and, it is pretty fun working out if there's an occasion involved, what that should be, agreeing on a text and then just kind of waiting, for the composer to send you something. And it's always been fantastic on my end. But I do have a couple of friends that are composers who have, for whatever reason, occasionally it hasn't been an entirely happy experience. So
yeah, and I actually have had maybe that's part of what comes from I haven't been commissioned that much yet. Everybody, I'm available, sort of. So
all right, we're gonna have to do that, Karen.
But I actually have had really good experience and different experiences with everybody. So that's been fun.
Years ago, I had the good fortune to study with Alice Parker a couple of times, and years ago, the church where I was working in Texas commissioned a piece from her. And it was just kind of an amazing experience because in those days, I mean, I remember coming back to my office after lunch and there was a priority mail envelope on my chair, and I opened it up and there were these 10 pages of handwritten manuscript in Alice Parker's handwriting, and it was the piece that she wrote for us.
Wow.
But I have heard her talk about in recent years, because she has pretty much only worked on commission, how, as she's been doing this now for 50 or 60 years, she said she's kind of done with the standard church, our sanctuary is 100 years old, or our choir director has been there for 25 years, kind of celebratory commission, because they tend to be, big psalm of praise, involve the handbells, add a trumpet or whatever.
Huh.
And she said, I've lived long enough that I would love to set the Psalms of Lament, and no one commissions you to set the Psalms of Lament. No one commissions you to set a Psalm of Lament because your choir director's been there for 25 years. Hopefully. Yeah. I want to play a video of a virtual project, fantastic virtual project that came. I don't know that this was through a church. It's called Undivided.
No, it's the Hickory Choral Society,
Okay.
Hickory, North Carolina. They did, like many of us had to do, a virtual performance for their fall concert last year, I believe it was. Yeah.
Okay. And so what's the piece, and tell us about the virtual thing we're about to see.
Okay. So the piece is called, now that we've narrowed that down, Undivided. And it's a kind of a favorite piece of mine, with a text that I think maybe we could all use at this time. Yeah, so basically they wanted to do a virtual version of this piece to round out their concert, which I believe was on themes of kind of hope and healing and all of that.
Terrific. Okay. So this is a virtual performance of Karen Marrolli's Undivided.
When darkness drops in anchor in the fearful oceans of our mind, and when the world is preaching rancor, I can choose to be kind, and maybe more will find the quiet rivers where we'll lift a peaceful melody, and undivided we will stand together hand in hand. And when hatred shatters silence, and each one clings to each one's will, and when the world bows down to violence, I can refuse to kill, and many more will join in sweet resistance, singing chords in gentle harmony, and undivided we will stand together hand in hand. And when anger breeds division, we can choose to stand side by side. And when the world exalts division, we can choose to lift each other high. And maybe then we'll join in one big chorus, singing songs of peace and unity, and undivided we will stand together hand in hand.
That's amazing, Karen.
Yeah, and I just remembered as we were watching that director, Ryan Lurs, he did an outstanding job of bringing area high school choirs into that as well. So you can see that's
I was wondering, it was just amazing to see a mix of ages in there.
Yeah, really wonderful job that he did. Yeah.
So the whole virtual choir thing, I mean, I was reminded we played one of ours at the very beginning of the hour, and then that was just so beautifully produced. I don't know where you were with all this. Virtual choirs were kind of becoming a cool idea, and then lockdown happened. And then I think every choir director in the world felt pressure to produce virtual choirs. And
right.
And the thing is, right, I mean, I feel this way about ours, and I'm sure you feel this way about yours. And looking at that, it's amazing. It's just seeing those faces is really moving. The production of them for the individual singer is so not. I mean, because as I've been saying, you know, most people didn't sign up to be in a choir because they ever wanted to sing a solo, let alone make a video of themselves singing a solo and submit it. Yeah. Not to mention the technological challenges. And so it really is, you just have to trust that the final product is going to be worth it. But it's been so interesting.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, we did a couple of virtual choir things, and I did them kind of in an around the bend way where they would send me audio recordings. And then because I do have kind of a history of mixing and working with that kind of equipment, you know, I mixed their audio recording together. And then I would use like stock video that seemed to fit. Yeah. Because at the time, and that takes a little bit of pressure off of them to have to make videos of themselves. Yeah. We did one video where some of them did videos, and it was a combination of either they did the video of themselves, or I captured it through a program called Rehearsal Live Share that we used to do a little bit of remote rehearsing. So, but yeah, I kind of didn't necessarily feel like I needed to go that traditional route. But to kind of, you know, and by the time we finally did the video where we were capturing their little faces, they were a little bit more used to it, I think. But
yeah, I mean, everybody doing 3 months of Zoom meetings probably makes you more comfortable.
I'm used to seeing myself. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. I mean, but the advantages obviously are if you have people that are skilled in mixing and doing the video production. I mean, that's an artifact of this time, right? That you'll have forever and ever and ever.
I just had to do all of it myself, unfortunately for them.
Well, at least you have skills. I mean, I was so fortunate to have the staff here, and Jim Arend and Shay Perry, who was on the staff at the time here, who did just beautiful, beautiful work with them. But God, if I had to try and figure that out for myself. So I'm glad you had brought some skills in that area.
Yeah, super fun.
So how has it been for you? I mean, it's a big question, but I mean, you and I have chatted somewhat during the course of the pandemic and commiserated about how hard it is to be a choir director. How are things feeling right now at Central United Methodist for being able to make music together?
I think you put it well at the beginning there, you know, when I was backstage, that it was, you know, it does feel like it's kind of an in-between time, and it's hard to navigate different people and everybody's kind of in a different place where they are, I think, too, emotionally for the pandemic. So you might have people that are super done with it. You might have people that there's no way they're going into a building ever again, you know, and then there's the whole range in between of trying to kind of meet people where they are. So that makes it difficult because I guess from our study and research and from the work, I'm so grateful for that study that they did, Colorado Boulder, to give us tools, because I was never a proponent of the idea of everybody just stop singing for 2 or 3 years until we get this under control. Yeah. Whereas there were a lot of people that were like, okay, I guess we're done. But, you know, I knew that if people just poked into it a little bit and saw, you know, that we would figure out how to do it safely. So I mean, that's where we are now, is singing in the masks, with the distancing, clamping down on the time that we're spent. We're in a big sanctuary, like you are, like you mentioned. So, I keep the doors of the sanctuary open to, So using all of that stuff that we know can help keep our singers as safe as possible, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one of the challenges has been, as you and I have talked about, is we are people who are used to thinking in terms of planning in seasons. And, it's
there's no planning.
There is no real planning like those days. And so it is, I think, becoming more comfortable, at least for me, it's been trying to become more comfortable with planning in the short term and thinking in terms of like pop-up events, as we keep saying, and just being able to, I'm so tired of the word pivot, but we've all been pivoting a lot over the last year and a half.
Oh, yes. Yes, we have. But yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. But at least, we're singing and we're together and we figured some really, I think, important things out that will carry us through to whatever happens after this.
Yeah, I agree. And, and my folks have been, we talked about this a little bit before too, but, it's such good troopers in this, and just sticking together this whole time, because I guess there have been some choirs that have not, for various and sundry reasons. But just kind of being a good team and moving forward and doing what we need to do to kind of make music happen, and to have that that artistic and social outlet for them too, because that's important to their just spiritual, and their spirits and their hearts and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, every time I have a guest on, I ask them to share a piece of music that they love that they don't have anything to do with, basically. So I asked Karen to what she might bring as an example of something that she loves, and tell us what we're going to play.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a hard choice because I'm so sort of eclectic. But I guess this is a piece that's sort of been on my heart lately. It's a young singer-songwriter. Her name is Aurora, and she's from the Netherlands somewhere. So she's very young, but she writes about like the big stuff. For the most part, rather than, love and loss and heartbreak, and which there's a good place for all of that kind of stuff too. But this piece is, and she normally does this like kind of more electronic thing in the productions. But this is more acoustic, which I think speaks a lot to a song or a body of songs when they can work in a variety of mediums without relying on production. But this song it's called A Different Kind of Human. And it's sort of got this vibe of, the good person being taken up by aliens, which can kind of, I guess it can speak to death, but also, just any of us that feel out of place in what the world wants or asks for us, and what we think is really important. I think it can kind of speak to us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear it. This is Aurora.
Sleeping? Are you afraid? We have been waiting for this meeting. Oh, Superman, are you with me when I am too weak? Oh, Mother, are you dreaming of me in your sleep? Coming for you, and we're coming in peace. My ship will take you on higher, higher. This where you're living is not a place for someone like you. Come on, let us take you home. It's time to go. You are infected. Come as you are. Don't be scared of us, you'll be protected. I guess you are a different kind of human. I guess you are a different kind of human. We have flaw in man-made matters, but you are pure, and we have to get you out of here. We have come for you, and we're coming in peace. Mothership will take you on higher, higher. This where you're living is not a place for someone like you. Come on, let us take you home. We have come for you, and we're coming in peace. Mothership will take you on higher, higher. This where you're living is not a place for someone like you. Come on, let us take you home.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for introducing me to her. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, it's a lot of, so if it's a lot of sort of like, feels like dance pop or electro pop or something like that. Like if you go listen to that song, which also it's very beautiful, and I just think it's really neat that all of her songs work very well in acoustic. I saw one of a song called The River that's sort of a pop song, but she sang it in front of a string orchestra. And that worked, so yeah.
Very cool. Thanks. Well, Karen, this has been fun. Do you have to go to work now?
I guess.
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to go to work now too. It's too bad.
Yeah, I think there are things that have to happen on Mondays and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
worship
right.
planning and all of that.
That's right. That's right. I really enjoyed it. And folks, if you are interested in learning more about Karen's music, her singer-songwriter stuff, and this fantastic new recording that just came out, you can go to KarenMarrolliMusic.com. And so thanks for being here and for sharing this stuff with us. I continue to love your music and can't wait to hear what's next.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's super fun.
Okay. Thanks, Karen. Well, friends, thanks for joining us this morning, and we hope you'll be back again next Monday. I'll have Barnaby Smith, the artistic director of Voces 8, who will be joining us from England or somewhere, and hope you'll be here for that. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a fantastic Monday. Take care. Bye.